presented to the board and filed prior to retaining his services. Before the Conservation Commission moves forward with this retaining the services of this expert, information must be provided to the entire board at the next meeting for review and a final discussion. The Conservation Commission bylaws, in accordance with RSA 36-A5, specifies that the town treasurer, pursuant to RSA 41-29, shall have custody of all monies in the conservation fund and shall pay out the same only upon order of the Conservation Commission. This makes it clear that any and all funds used to hire an expert in regards to the decision of the DCC board must be signed off by the Conservation Commission. Respectfully, Corey StCyr, Chairman of the Dalton Conservation Commission.
Okay, I have thank you very much, Corey,
yes,
for bringing this. I have a couple of things to mention. I was at the Conservation Commission meeting. There was a clear vote to engage the specialist up to, and the references were read by Nancy Kamal, and the decision that I heard in the meeting very clearly was a vote by the commission to engage the wetland specialist up to $5,000. There was a further discussion at the end of the meeting when the meeting was abruptly ended with no notice or anything. People online were rather confused, and it was multiple attendees who were disruptive. But that discussion was about the prior letter, a replacement letter to be submitted to DEA that had nothing to do with certified wetland specialist engagement. It was a different topic that was being discussed at that time.
No, but we were discussing about with Nancy, I needed more credentials. And the more I think about it as I left the meeting, which I have every right to change my mind because I am the chairman of the Conservation Board, I have every right to, and the more I thought about it, for the protection of the town of Dalton, I would like to have documents, filed documents that I can have. She did her job, but she didn't present them and left them on the table, so as a committee we could all read and look over it. That's my concern.
So I have further information. Barbara Richter, who is the director of the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, responded later today after this letter, and because there's no construction mitigation of wetlands that's involved in this, it's just a review of the permit application, there's no need for bonding.
Correct, no need for bonding, correct. Thank you for looking at it, and she corrected me on that. I appreciate that. But still, I would like the documentation of it, of the resume and everything, to keep on file the Conservation Committee and everything.
So I'm sure.
So
can I just ask, you're pushing for documentation, but yet there are no minutes to any of these meetings. The last minutes that were draft minutes that were going to be changed, I was at that meeting in October. There have been no other meetings sent to this board.
As far as I know, they've been all sent to the town clerk to be posted on the board.
But the town clerk doesn't do it, that's me, and I have emailed and requested the minutes.
Several times, and she CC'd all of us. We still do not have minutes. So when we talk about documentation, I think that's a two-way street here.
Oh, correct, but this is still talking about a certain subject, because that's a whole different subject compared to what we're talking about.
Well, you're asking for documentation for the towns.
No, asking documentation from Nancy for the Conservation Committee.
For town liability. The minutes are liability as well.
Yes, I understand that. But as far as I know, that she was posting these and sending them to the town clerk, which I believe that's what we're advised to do, is send to the town clerk and post.
They would never. So what the process is that they come to the select board or the administrative assistant. And
we have
provide them to the town
same
clerk.
conversation as their meeting.
Right.
They all know how the process goes. We've had this conversation.
I know Vanessa knows because she had said that she realizes the administrative assistant is posting them. The problem is I just need to receive them so that I can post them, because we've received a lot of comments from the public about not having the minutes on the website, and I can't do anything about it until I actually have them.
Okay, I will talk to her about that. As far as I know, she was sending those out, and I'll see if I can find them mine too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have copies?
No.
No?
And I can tell you that we discussed it last week, and what we're concerned about is that technically, my understanding is that the Conservation Commission ideally would have engaged a certified wetland specialist back in September to deal with this issue. It's now December. we don't have a lot of time. You know, we're already past the deadline, the 40-day
Right, and
deadline.
I just wanna make sure it's done right. I just
But-
wanna make sure it's done right.
So we are trying to facilitate this process and help the Conservation Commission. So, you know, I don't want to see any more delays. I want to see this move forward, because I don't know whether there are any issues with the wetland permit or not. And it would be nice to have an expert opinion that is neutral review it. So the other thing, so yes, we did help to move this process forward. The other thing that's necessary is a $1,000 retainer. And you're absolutely correct that the Conservation Commission spends money. We did vote last week that we were willing to basically pay that if the Conservation Commission can't do it in a timely manner. And we realize that it's up to the commission to reimburse the select board and the town or not. And we just thought in terms of the process and being good partners in this process and looking out for the town, that it was worth the risk to at least get the process moving.
No, I understand that, but you would think you would have CC'd me to come to that meeting. I would love to come to that meeting and discuss this, but I wasn't even aware of this. I didn't even know that you guys are going to be doing this. You would think this is something you would be in communications with the Conservation Commission about.
And we didn't
And you took
know
it
that we
upon
would be,
yourself?
you know, we started looking at the timeline. Nancy had shared the need for retainer. And so it was more or less a last minute thing where we wanted to act quickly.
Yeah, but once again, this is something you should have had the Conservation Committee to be part of.
Nancy was there.
I don't disagree,
Nancy is
but
not the
it's
chair
just,
of the Conservation Committee, so.
but it was just
No.
something, you know, we wanted to try to react quickly. So I do have a question. We have a check in our pile, we have not signed it yet, for the $1,000 retainer. Should we proceed with that, or how quickly can the Conservation Commission move forward on
I
this?
would like to do this like tomorrow, work on this, at this section right here about tomorrow, because we have a conservation meeting tomorrow.
Mhm.
So I think that'd be the best time to do it.
So when you
And-
say
and
work
Kate,
on
are
it,
you
will there
able to
be a
get the
check?
treasurer?
I'm sorry?
Will there be a check issued by the end of the week, or are you talking another,
Vote on it
wait
and
for another
decide.
month?
When we vote on it tomorrow as a committee, discuss it, it could be out by next month, or, I mean, at the end of the meeting.
So have you already talked to the treasurer about getting a check maybe
No, I
on
haven't.
Wednesday?
No,
Okay. My concern is, it's already mid-December. I don't think this can wait until next week. I think the wetlands specialist needs to start work right away.
okay, so this is something we will discuss at tomorrow's meeting.
Well, the Conservation Commission has already voted to engage him. This is just,
Yeah, signing the check though, have the conservation doing the check and everything,
okay.
that's what I'm saying.
So we will hold this check until Wednesday, just in case, you know, you can't move quickly enough to get a check.
Okay, but if we can't move quickly enough, you're gonna request the conservation to reimburse the town? Is
That's
that
how the trust fund seems to work.
Is that how that works?
That would be what we
Again,
would like.
that's gonna have to be voted on again by the committee to make that work.
We agree.
Okay.
And we discussed that last week and discussed that, you know, we have no control over whether you reimburse the town or not, but it is important to move this process forward quickly. And so we're trying to do, we looked and we thought we can get a check today, so it could be ready to be mailed out tomorrow or Wednesday after the treasurer signs it. So if you can get your check directly from the Conservation Commission in that time frame, that would be ideal.
Sure.
Otherwise, this is an option where we could get hopefully reimbursed by the Conservation Commission, but at least it can
Obviously,
get the
that's
specialist engaged.
Hopefully, yes.
Okay, so Vanessa's on here just said, she wanted to convey this message. Jesse told me to give them, I think she's referring to the meeting minutes to her, and she would post them, and that was what was done. I can forward what was sent to her, but it was sent, and then, so she wanted me to tell you that. And then she said, hold the check. And then she said, all we need to do is show the treasurer our minutes that approved the check, and she will cut the check that day. So we should have the check sent out this week.
And that would be the ideal way to do it.
Right.
And we talked about that, we just wanted to, have a fallback in case, we weren't able to move that quickly.
Again, like I said, this is something we probably should let the conservation know about, hey, this is our fallback instead of me coming here and just discussing it now.
And we'll try to do better next time, that's certainly fair. And I don't remember the timing, I think, did we get something from Nancy from the wetlands specialist on Monday last week? I don't remember the timing
I don't
for
remember
sure.
the timing. Yeah.
But I know it was, a few days after the Conservation Commission meeting.
So you'll have to have meeting minutes tomorrow that are signed to do it.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Next topic. Ready? This is the next topic I'd like to talk about, next item I'd like to have in the minutes and posted.
Okay.
So this one really strikes home to me anyways. I really hate that we have to read this all, but unfortunately I guess I'm gonna have to read it all. This is yours, ma'am. There's you, ma'am. Ms. Sheltree, so I've got a copy for you at the desk.
Here's the October draft minutes that I had, 9:15. Here's the 9:15, I don't see.
We're on a different subject now, we can continue that. Okay, so would you like me to read this one to you? Here we go. A little longer one. To the Board of Selectmen, Dalton, New Hampshire. The below 3 paragraphs are the expert from C. Christine Fulmore, Town of City Article, New Hampshire Municipal Association. A conflict also exists when an official is actually biased in a direction or the other before the information is even presented to the board. Part 1, Article 35 of the New Hampshire Constitution says it is the right of every citizen to be tried by judges as imperial as the lot of humanity will admit. Local officials deciding matters of the, quote, judicial nature are held to the same standards of imperiality. Of course, unless any official says something is public, indicting bias, the existence of the bias may not be known. However, the official who knows they are biased has the duty of the public to recuse him or herself from the proceedings. What is at stake? If a person with a disqualifying conflict of interest or biased participation in a matter, the legal results will depend on the kind of matter at hand. It is important to note here that if no one challenges the board's decision in court, the only consequences are the political ramifications of eroded public trust in their government. The court will look at whether the board was acting judicially or legislatively. Briefly, a judicial action is one in which officials are bound to notify and hear parties and can only decide after weighing and considering such evidence and argument as the parties chose to lay before them. And Bethlehem 154, New Hampshire 3/14/2006, example, including the zoning board of adjustment decisions on a variance application or board of selectmen decisions on whether to take private property by eminent domain. The other actions on board may take which are not judicial are generally referred to as legislative. Examples include the creation of proposed zoning amendment by a planning board or a town council decision regarding whether to replace the yield sign with a stop sign or traffic light. For more information on the topic, see Chapter 13 of the New Hampshire MA publication, Knowing Their Territory and article. Local offices making decisions. Understanding conflicts of the interest of disqualifying bias, which appeared in the January 2011 issue of New Hampshire MA's Town and City magazine. This bias is evidenced in the case of Dalton Select Board member Tamela Swan, whose photograph also, along with her husband and Stave Forest Lake founder John Swan, attending a zero waste summit sponsored by an activist organization called Community Action Work, CAW. CAW stated the mission of Summit in the following paragraphs: actual 2019 CAW annual report is provided for reference. Page number 2. Not here, not anywhere. Town comes together to block polluting landfills. 2 years ago, neighbors in Bethlehem, New Hampshire, a small town in the heart of the White Mountains, came out to vote in the middle of the snowstorm and stop the multi-million company Casella Waste Systems for expanding a landfill in Dalton. The neighboring towns went on strategy to stop Casella polluting landfills in their towns and hold manufacturer responsibility for waste from the products they produce. Community Actions Work held a day-long zero waste summit to bring these leaders together and for a plan of action. This year, Casella tried a new strategy proposing to build a new landfill in Dalton, and neighboring towns want a strategy to stop Casella polluting landfills in their town and hold manufacturers responsible for waste from the product. Community Action Work Annual Report 2019. This constitutes an obvious known position of bias on the part of the Select Board members Swan on a proposed landfill project in the town of Dalton, announced by Casella Waste Systems. I request that Tamela Swan officially recuse herself from any further votes on actions and concerning the Granite State landfill project. If you wait 1 second, I also have this to pass on as well. On page 8, you'll find exactly what I'm talking about. There you go, ma'am. Ms. Swan. Ms. Sheltree. Would you like one, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you.
I'm terrible on names, I apologize. Miss Liz. All right, there you go. Page 8, I also marked them, so.
Thank you.
All this is very concerning to me. But all I've been hearing is about Mr. Ingerson, and Vanessa recusing themselves. That's all I've been hearing from Ms. Swan, your husband, and everything. And I found this because I was told also in my last meeting to start doing my job. So consider this me doing my job. And this is what I found. And this is really disturbing that I see this. This is bias all the way. There's nothing you can deny about that, man.
It's a zero waste summit. It's talking about trying to reduce waste. I'm not a member. I attended a summit.
In regards to stopping Casella,
It talked about waste.
So I think this
It says members.
organization may have that as part of their plan, but
I'm not a
my
member.
understanding is that they had a zero waste summit. And I'm seeing planning board members from other towns in the picture
Right.
at the same time. So it was a
It was Hearthstone
meeting
Farm
to
there.
try
Yeah, follow that, man.
to decide how, look at ways of reducing waste, which I personally think that it's irresponsible to say we just shouldn't have a landfill and not look at other solutions.
Oh, correct.
I mean, so, but, I think if the question here is participating in a one-day summit on looking for ways to reduce waste from the source versus being involved in the organization, those are two different things.
Yeah.
And so, I think,
So you're saying that this is not biased, and you're saying that this is not considered conflict of interest whatsoever? The select board members of Dalton are saying this?
I think we'll have to just,
This is something
Tamela
that-
will have to decide whether she needs to recuse
Yeah,
herself
this-
or not.
yeah, this is
I
something
mean,
that-
I don't, attending a one-day conference, I don't think necessarily means that you're part of an organization.
An activist, national activist organization that holds meetings for members to learn how to disarray companies.
But was that the goal
No,
of the
that wasn't
meeting that
brought
you
up at all. They were
attended?
just talking about zero waste, like what's the best place to start with. So one of the things, they actually have one of the farms in Bethlehem, what's the farm on?
Rochester.
Meadow Street?
Yeah, no, up the back one where they.
Meadow Stream?
Yeah, yes.
Meadowstone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was there, and we also talked about trying to get food waste out of the food stream and how we can do that, and how people can bring some of their food waste over there. So there were a lot of different things that we talked about. They were just trying to get people together to say there's a lot of different ways to reduce waste, and what's the best way to what area that they want to focus on. So So like, there was a lot of different things to talk about, like, about that.
Well, this is something I'd like to be checked out though, if you could. Maybe you can give me an answer next meeting or something. Find out, because it is putting down their liability, so. Remember, the select board member going to a national activist group that's well-known and,
So Corey, I don't like plastic bags from the supermarket. Does that make me guilty?
no, but did you go to a committee about plastic bags?
If they had a solution to stop plastic bags, I'd be there.
It wasn't.
So, I mean,
But you don't know
so,
that.
I'm seeing people from planning boards or in other towns here. I'm not hearing any,
Planning board from other towns, but are they part of the landfill? Are they part of it? No, it's from what town?
yeah.
The town of Dalton. That's the biggest thing, that's all I'm asking as a person. Just-
I think it's something to take under consideration. But I'm not agreeing
Well,
that
not either.
that it's necessary. I mean, if you,
It's fine, you don't have to agree with it, it's
yeah,
fine.
no, I mean, I think there's, as I say, there is a difference between attending a one-day conference on a specific topic and being involved in an organization, and
Again, just I would like somebody to check this out for me, please, because,
we can check further.
you
And
know,
so that is also different than having a financial stake in a project.
Correct.
That's when the real conflict of interest comes in.
Which, Chicky, yeah?
Yeah.
Vanessa, but Chicky.
Well, they both recused themselves.
No, but they had to recuse themselves every meeting. That was a big thing that your husband was yelling about in the background, saying that I put the town, possibly could put the town at risk because she didn't recuse herself. She has to recuse herself from every meeting, if we're talking about that subject. And just because she recused herself does not mean that she can't talk about it. She just can't vote on it.
That's not true.
So-
I can tell you, I lived this experience when they went after Ron. I had so much information I could have given them, but the attorney said, no, you have to recuse yourself and keep your mouth quiet.
So what I
So-
have understood is that, in a quasi-judicial body, if someone is recusing themselves,
They're supposed
they
to leave
really
the
should
room.
leave the table. They can participate as a member of the audience, of the citizens, but they would not participate as a member of the board or the Conservation Commission, is my understanding.
Correct, so that'd be like Chicky's state, but like I said, again, Vanessa is a whole different subject. Because at any given moment, if that relationship ends, she's out the door with zero, nothing. She has nothing anymore. So that's all I'm stating. I'm just getting really
Okay.
sick of being part of the Conservation Committee, and everything I hear is just choose. And then I see this, and like I said,
Okay,
if you could
seems
please-
like there is a difference,
Okay.
because,
No, that's all I'm asking
Yeah.
for. If you can just please, look that up for me, find out for an answer for me, from the town lawyer, if anything, what's going on. And like I said, I would also like both these articles added in the minutes and posted on board. And that's all I have to offer.
There's no financial gain.
Mm-mm.
If there's a financial gain, but there is no financial gain, so there's nothing.
But you're sitting member of the select board.
There is
Make
no
decisions.
financial gain for her.
Doesn't have to be a financial gain, man. Doesn't have to be a financial gain. You can't be biased to something.
so there is a difference. My understanding is that select board members can have opinions on things that are coming before the town, which is different than the zoning board of appeals, where it's more of a judicial board. So it is a different standard. But we'll look into it.
If you could
We're
please.
happy to look into it.
All right. That's that
And
one.
so, those are the meetings before you leave. There's some minutes there. Would you look and see if Jesse posted them onto the conservation site, because Jesse has access to do that? Does she not?
I mean,
Yeah.
unless it was within the past week, I know that they're not on there, but I can check. Because I've gone on several
Those
times.
were sent to Jesse. I think September's is there.
Does it state that they're sent to Jesse?
Huh?
Does it state that they were sent to Jesse?
No,
That,
they
yeah,
were on the
that's
board.
what Vanessa said on here.
No.
I have been aware of my phone too. Emails are going to spam.
Then you gotta change your safety setting.
Okay, so.
You have to go into your spam file and accept that as not being spam. Just like when you don't want something in your other thing, you mark it as spam so it doesn't come into your regular
Novice.
email.
Novice. I do a lot of things on my phone, but that is one thing.
Well, this is a pretty good publication for a
It
novice.
is, it is very good. Like I said, all
10,
right,
20 draft is
Am I
still
good?
up there.
I believe so. We're just checking on the minutes.
Well, these are all, so for 2020,
Hand me that.
what's on the website
Those pile of
is
papers.
January, March, and October.
okay.
So if she wants to forward me that information that she had sent to Jesse, then I can make sure it gets on the website.
Okay. All right, I will.
This is unreadable. I don't know why it's even up there, unless somebody else can read it.
Oh, that's you.
This
Okay,
says,
thank you, Corey.
Ladies, have a good night. Have a safe trip home. It is snowing out.
Okay, thank you.
Vanessa said she sent them November 23rd to Jesse.
Did you say November 23rd?
Yeah, to Jesse, so I don't think you wouldn't have them.
Also, it's weird that Jesse wouldn't mention that to me because she knows that I do that.
It just said she just sent it to you right now.
Thank you. Oh, perfect.